Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte, and at the time of this recording, the trade deadline has come and gone. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2026, 6:53 Eastern Time. And I'm not going to go through the injury report this week. I'm not going to go through a lot this week. Because the big news is the trade deadline. And so we're going to go through that, and then we're going to go through what I think is basically Detroit finally coming to the realization that, you know what, we didn't do enough this year. And so let's go ahead and discuss everything. Skubal to the Dodgers and Mize to the Padres. Now, Mize to the Padres is recent, within the last hour. Skubal to the Dodgers, of course, happened on Saturday during Detroit's 8-6 win over the Athletics. And so everybody knew about Skubal to the Dodgers, and in all honesty, the Dodgers are basically getting a preview of what they'll get next year. I don't see him going anywhere else. I see Scott Boras getting in touch with Andrew Friedman right now and saying, hey, let's get something done. Let's work this out now. Don't think Dodger brass isn't talking to Scott Boras right now. Because they got their guy, and they don't have to worry about tampering rules anymore. And Tarek Skubal would be the top free agent pitcher on the market. He'd be the top free agent on the market in the offseason. This is 2026's Juan Soto. This is 2026's Shohei Ohtani. This is 2026's Alex Bregman times 2. Because you remember, Bregman was a free agent in 24 and in 25. This is all of those guys. And the only other free agent pitching situation in the next 3 to 4 years is going to be Paul Skeens. The only free agent pitcher that's going to be going to get a contract equal to or greater than what Tarek Skubal is going to get is Paul Skeens. Cam Schlittler, he's good. Not at the level of Skeens and Skubal. Freddie Peralta's a free agent at the end of the year. Not as good as Skubal. You look at up and down the league. There's nobody that transcends baseball the way Tarek Skubal does, and from a pitching standpoint. So I'm going to break this down and look. I don't know why, but Scott Harris has a hard-on for left-handed hitting outfielders. I understand that 80% of the time you're going to get a platoon advantage. I get that. You don't have to preach that to me. But let's assume that Riley Green re-signs with the Tigers after 2027. The guy who shows up for the first half and then disappears in the second. So the big name in this prospect list, in these 3 prospects, is Zaire Hope, Double-A, left-handed hitting outfielder, drafted originally by the Cubs, sent to LA in a deal a couple of years ago, and he's the guy. He's the centerpiece of this. River Ryan and Brady Smith are just two other guys that Detroit wanted, but they really wanted Zaire Hope. And Max Clark got called up on Thursday for the Tigers. So let's assume, just for the heck of playing a game, let's assume that Zaire Hope. You know what? Let's really spin this to an outrageous point of view. Let's assume he does a Kevin McGonigal and just completely skips AAA. So next year, because Gleyber Torres is gone after this year's over, after the season. So let's assume that your starting lineup includes Kevin McGonigal leading off, Max Clark hitting second, Riley Green hitting third, Kerry Carpenter hitting fourth, Zaire Hope hitting fifth, Colt Keith hitting sixth, Dylan Dingler hitting seventh, Haiyu Lee hitting eighth, and Javi Baez hitting ninth. And that's a possibility because Spencer Torkelson isn't playing well. Yeah, he's got 20 home runs, but he's hitting just over 200. And his defense is good, but let's be realistic. He plays a power position. He needs to do better. Now, you're not going to see that lineup because it's 6 left-handers stacked and then 3 right-handers at the end. So you'll probably end up seeing Clark / McGonigal, one of the two, probably McGonigal, at the top of the order. Dylan Dingler, second. Riley Green, third. Kerry Carpenter, fourth. You probably see Haiyu Lee hit fifth. Max Clark, Colt Keith. Zaire Hope, and Javi Baez. That's probably your starting 9. So that's a possibility. But at the end of the day, what you're looking at is a situation where H.A. Hinch is going to be hamstrung when somebody brings in a left-handed reliever. Because who's he going to bring in off the bench? Eduardo Valencia? Okay, maybe. Does Max Anderson get the call? It's possible. But neither one of them can play the outfield. Do you DH Carpenter? Because they're not going to let him go. They should, but they're not going to. Do you DH Carpenter and bring in I mean, do you keep Torque and DH Carpenter and bring in Colt Keith? I mean, you can't do that because that's a left for a left. What do? How does that work? Do you sit Keith and play Torque and bring Keith in later on? It's just you just I don't understand. Let's look at the outfield that Detroit has, the outfielders in the organization that Detroit has. You know what? Let's look at the players that Detroit has in the organization that are top prospects. You got Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal. He's no longer a prospect. He's graduated. Parker Meadows, Zaire Hope, Bryce Raynard, along with an outfield of James Outman, Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter / Zach McKinstry. You got a right-handed For your right-handed options, you've got Javi Baez and Matt Vierling. Now Matt Vierling is hurt, so that's a thing, and he's on a 1-year contract. He's done after this year. Will Detroit re-sign him? You never know. But at the end of the day, it's just I don't look. You weren't going to get anything else from the Dodgers. And the Brewers weren't going to trade the guy that you wanted for Tarek Skubal. If they'd made that deal during the offseason, maybe, but highly unlikely. If they'd made that deal this time last year, probably. But at the end of the day, Detroit got what they were going to get, and I understand that. I can respect that. I just wish they'd gone for a right-hander instead of a lefty. I really do. This lineup is crying for a right-handed bat. And you listen to Dan Dickerson, and you listen to Dan Petrie and Bobby Scales and Andy Dirks talk about, the things the offense has done lately. Okay, yeah. They hung 32 runs on Oakland. I'm sorry, on the Athletics. Over 3 games. They hung 28 runs on Baltimore over 3 games. But in 4 games against Kansas City, a 4-3 win, a 2-1 win, a 2-1 loss, and a 2-1 loss. Now, that's 8 runs in 4 games. That's an average of 2 runs a game. Oh, well, they looked good against the Cubs. Okay. It's at Wrigley Field. They're going to hit well at Wrigley Field. But they won 2-1 against the Angels, and they lost 3-2 against the Angels. In the middle game, they had a good game. But offensively, this team is still challenged. This team still has issues. How many more May 2026s and September 2025s do we need to see before we figure out what this team has and what it doesn't have? Oh, well, the young guys are going to take steps forward. Yeah, that May looked like a really good step forward, didn't it? 6-22. And the Washington Nationals hitting more home runs in a month than you did. By, like, a lot. Less than 20 homers in the entire month. But these young players are taking a step forward. Oh, well, the weather was cold. The weather was cold all over the country. And the Washington Nationals hit more than 50 home runs in the month. And you hit less than 20. Where does that leave us? Where does that put us? That puts us out of the playoffs. Oh, they're 4 games under 500, and they're really close, and they're going to catch. Cleveland is the team to beat, and they're only 6 games out of the division title in the loss column. You know what? Let's look at what they've got coming up. Tomorrow night they go to Seattle for 3. Then they go to San Francisco for 3. They come home for 3 with Cleveland, 3 with the White Sox. Then they go on the road. This schedule coming up includes a homestand that is 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays and 3 against the Dodgers. This schedule coming up has 4 games in Cleveland. A team that already has you 6 games to none in the season series. You've still got Toronto. You've got 7 against the White Sox. You've got 6 against Pittsburgh. I'm gonna go down this whole list. You have Seattle, San Francisco, Cleveland, Chicago. Okay, so you got 2 more series against Cleveland. You got 2 more series against the White Sox. You got 2 more series against Kansas City. You've got 2 more series against Minnesota. You've got a series against the Dodgers, a series against the Rays, a series against the Blue Jays, a series against the Rockies, and you don't have, and 2 series against the Pirates. You know what? Out of all of those teams, the Dodgers won the World Series last year. The Rays are leading the AL East. The Blue Jays took the Dodgers to Game 7 last year, and Detroit didn't look good against Toronto earlier this year. Okay, it was in May. So what? They still didn't look good. They got swept in Chicago by the White Sox. They got swept in Minnesota by the Twins. They've been swept by Cleveland. In Detroit, of all places. And they didn't look good in that series. You're going to sit here and tell me that this is a playoff team? And now, your starting rotation, I give you Troy Melton, Kader Montero, Framber Valdez. Montero pitched Saturday. No, sorry, Montero pitched yesterday. Valdez pitched Saturday. He didn't look good. Jack Flaherty's still on the injured list. Jackson Jobe is still rehabbing. River Ryan, your prospect that you got back for Tarek Skubal, is dealing with 2 hamstring injuries. You're going to sit here and tell me that this is a playoff team now? The minute Skubal got traded, you surrendered. You said, you know what? We're done. We can't do this anymore. We don't have all the pieces. And you know what? You're thinking realistically. You're 54 and 58 right now. If you go 32 and 18 over the next 50 games, you finish with 86 wins and 76 losses. The same record you had last year. That gets you into the wild card race. That gets you a wild card berth. It doesn't win you a division. Chicago got better this weekend. They picked up Luis Castillo. They picked up some center field help in Britton Doyle. They got better. Cleveland got better. Minnesota got better. Detroit gave away its 2 best starting pitchers. And oh yeah, Kyle Finnegan and Kenley Jansen are still in Detroit. Let's not even go there with Kyle Finnegan, okay? Let's not even go there. A.J. Hinch puts him in a 7-1 game, and he gives up 4 in a game that Detroit ends up losing. A game that, oh, by the way, they needed because Baltimore is ahead of them in the race, or they were in the wild card race. Detroit needed that win. They didn't get it. 16 games between the All-Star game and the trade deadline. And you go 2, 4, 6, 7, 10. 10 and 6. You should have gone 14 and 2. You should have swept the Angels. You should have swept the Orioles. You should have at least taken 3 out of 4 against the Royals. And you did your job against Chicago. You did your job against the Athletics. You had a chance to win that series against Baltimore, and your bullpen blew it. Between the lack of offense in May and the bullpen being an absolute walk fest, and between, in the bullpen, Drew Anderson giving up walk-off home runs and Kyle Finnegan just stinking up the joint every time he comes out, and Kenley Jansen giving up walk-off home runs. This is why we're 54 and 58. I haven't done the numbers, but I guarantee you, if I look at the amount of losses that Kenley Jansen has, it puts the Tigers over 500. If I look at the amount of losses that Kyle Finnegan has, it puts us in the division lead. If you add up the losses that Kyle Finnegan has and the losses that Kenley Jansen has, if you changed those to wins, Detroit's in the driver's seat in the division right now. And Skubal and Mize are still here. Now, Detroit doesn't trade prospects, so Detroit can't get what they need because Scott Harris holds on to prospects like you wouldn't believe. It's just what he does. He believes in his prospects. You will not see him sending prospects for a player. He's not Dave Dombrowski. But you know what? Dave Dombrowski's been to the World Series with 4 different teams. The Marlins, the Tigers, the Red Sox, and the Phillies. You know what the difference is between 3 of those 4 teams? Actually, all 4, because Wayne Huizinga spent a ton of money on the Marlins. Mike Ilitch spent money on the Tigers. The Red Sox, they spend money. John Middleton and the Phillies, they spend money. Chris Ilitch, for whatever reason, seems to want to run this team on a shoestring. And the best it's gotten him is 2 Game 5 losses in the ALDS. The best it's gotten him is Tarek Skubal going to the Dodgers. Next year, I will give you your starting rotation because they won't re-sign Casey Mize. They're not going to re-sign Tarek Skubal. That's why they traded him away. I will give you your starting rotation on opening day next year. Troy Melton, Jackson Jobe, Reese Olson, River Ryan, Cater Montero. That's your starting 5. That's your starting 5. Who knows what your lineup's going to look like, but it ain't going to have any big-name bats in it because Chris Ilitch won't spend the money. That's what this team has turned into, folks. That's where this team is at right now. Now, I will admit, I was surprised to see Skubal go. Because I thought for sure Scott Harris was going to say, well, we can still win this thing. And hold on to Tarek Skubal and hold on to Casey Mize and make a QO for Tarek Skubal and get a draft pick. Because Scott Harris loves himself some draft picks. He didn't. I give him props for that. I just wish he had gotten a better prospect than Zaire Hope. Not because of his numbers. His numbers are fine. His numbers are great. But two things. Prospects are suspects until proven otherwise. And why, oh why do we have so many left-handed outfielders in our system? When this team needs right-handed power. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can. TigersBaseballPodcast@gmail.com. It's the longest email address in the world, and I'm proud of that. You can also catch me on Twitter at Podcast Tigers. TB Podcast at tweezecake.social is my Mastodon account. You can catch me there. You can also comment on the YouTube page. If you are wondering what happened, I have been live streaming, and for whatever reason, it's not publishing those as videos for you to watch on Team Replay. So I don't know if you have to be a channel member, like a channel subscriber, to see those, what the deal is. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon, click the bell icon to get notified whenever I go live, and you will get those notifications, and you should be able to see my streams. My streams are usually every Monday at noon. Next week, it won't be that way. It's going to be a little bit late because I have other things that I have to do. I have an appointment at 10 o'clock on Monday of the 10th. So I'm going to take care of that, and so I might be a little late on Monday. But that is where I've been. I've been streaming on YouTube, but nobody knows about it. So there you go. Thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate you guys. And as always, go Tigers.